All right, here I go. Here is the questions that I have to do. Okay, and I'm starting the synopsism project. My question is, how does knowing myself and my own community help me think about what it means to be a community-focused educator? I chose this question because even though I wasn't able to apply what I've learned this semester into a classroom, I was able to expand on what I did know. I've never been very community-focused, and this class has had me reflect on what it means. For this reason, the inquiry question really resonated with me because it's given me a foundation of what it means to be a good teacher and active in my community. Overall, I took this opportunity to reflect on what I've learned for myself in the classroom. So, for my investigation process, I broke up the inquiry questions and analyzed each of those. So, the first one being, what does community mean to me? What does it mean to be a good teacher? What does knowing myself and my community mean, and how do I apply that to the classroom? Before I address anything, I wanted to define what does community mean to me. So after our in-class discussion for our assignment, I wanted to define community as a group that unifies and interacts over a shared interest. But applying that to the classroom, I want more than just unifying over learning a subject. I want students to feel comfortable, active, and engaged in the class and enjoy being part of the learning community. So in order for them to feel comfortable, I have to go above and beyond to be a good teacher. So, what does it mean to be a good teacher? Using our podcast from our social connections assignment, I wanted to address ways on how students can feel comfortable in class. So, the first podcast being Eight Black Hands, episode 73, Smart Black Kids versus Acting White. This podcast discusses how students feel in their community, and that topic was brought up was addressing uncomfortable situations and discussions in the classroom. Rachel had talked about how she's one of the only people of color in the classroom, and when it comes to history lessons, the room feels a little uncomfortable. Instead of the teacher addressing the past racism and how it's relevant today, they just skirt around the topic. Rachel has said during the podcast that she would prefer to have an open conversation about it because not addressing these conversations and topics are even more uncomfortable. And then going past students and expanding community to include parents as well. Nice White Parents, the Book of Statuses. In this podcast, a new white family had enrolled their children into a Title I school and wanted to fundraise for newer school resources like a French program. So instead of the parents participating in the PTA, they completely steamrolled the original parents and just did what they wanted. This left the original parents feeling left out who wanted to participate in their child's education. So understanding my community also means knowing when I need to take a step back and listen and be there for support rather than being the voice. And then the main one that I took away from this year was acknowledging that there's different backgrounds from students and that you have to be flexible as a teacher. Not everyone's going to have equal opportunity to everything. Not every child's going to have a parent that's going to be there to help them work on homework after school. You just have to support the children the best way you can, if that includes being there during lunch or staying a little bit after school, and just being more flexible in grading and not being so hard on deadlines. So, what does my knowing myself in the community mean? I really like this quote. If I'm willing to look into the mirror and not run from what I see, I have a chance to gain self-knowledge. And knowing myself is as crucial to good teaching as knowing my students and my subject. Self-reflection is so important to being a teacher, especially a community-focused one. Without reflecting on past or wrong behavior, you're setting an example for yourself and students that growth is not required for education, and that's just untrue. Self-knowledge goes hand in hand with learning new information because it shows you're processing the information and not just taking it as surface level value. Knowledge requires depth, and you have to be willing to grow from that. That means admitting when you're wrong and being open to try new things. What did I learn? According to Palmer's Heart of a Teacher, good teaching cannot be reduced to a technique. Good teaching comes from the identity and integrity of a teacher. What did I learn? Need to fill this out. What are my next steps? So how can I continue to research these topics? How do I feel more comfortable with uncomfortable conversations? And how can I continue to be vulnerable in the classroom?